Let me highlight two things about generating arrays in MATLAB. And the first is just a quirk about generating negative ranges. So what I mean by that is if I type -1, I want to generate a range of negative numbers between -1 and -10, -10. Then if I try generate that in MATLAB, it says empty matrix 0 by 1. And that's not what I was expecting. I was expecting a range of numbers between between -1 and 10, spaced 1 apart. But what's happening is actually -1 is more positive than -10. So -1, the starting point for this MATLAB creation, is beyond where the ending point is. It's sort of like saying let's generate 100 to 0. It does the same thing because 100 is beyond 0. So to get around this, we need to specify manually what the increment is. So if we wanted to generate negative numbers between -1 and 10, then we'd have to manually put in the increment. If we manually put in the increment, now MATLAB knows, okay, I want to start at -1 and then I want to move backwards. So I want to go from -1 to -2 all the way up until -10. And now that works, and it gives me the correct direction that I want to move in. I actually want to start more positive and move more negative, which is the same again as me saying 100 -1, 90. That also works. Okay, so that's one thing you should keep in mind. Generating negative ranges is the same as moving backwards, and so I must specify a negative increment in order to do that. Sometimes I want to generate an array that is of a certain length, and I don't actually know what the spacing is. So all of the ranges that we've generated so far have been ones that have been either ones that we've specified or they've been 1, in which case it's been easy. But sometimes we want to generate a number between two limits, and the spacing is something that's difficult to work out. We don't care, we just want to know a set number of points. Okay, so a classic one would be, say we want to do the Simpsons rule and we need an odd number of points. We want 13, for instance. Then we just care about 13 number of points, and we don't really want to work out the spacing. So there's another function in MATLAB called linspace. And before I show it, I just want to demonstrate the documentation. So if I type in linspace, then MATLAB shows the function. And the function works by specifying 2 parameters or 3 parameters. If I use 2, then the first parameter must be the starting point, and the second parameter must be the ending point. And if I specify 3 numbers inside these brackets, then the third point represents the number of points that I want to generate. So let me explain what's going on here. So if I do linspace, and let's do something strange like -pi to 2 pi. If I push enter now, then what will happen if I look at the documentation, it says, well, if I don't put in a number for the number of points, then I'll just generate a row vector with 100 points spaced between A and B. So what will happen is if I push enter, then this will generate 100 points spaced between -pi and 2 pi. And that's what happens. So the answer is a 1 by 100 matrix of doubles, where the spacing between each point is whatever it needs to be so that there's 100 points in this array. If I do linspace with -pi to 2 pi, and I want, say, 17 points, then I enter the 17 as the third parameter in this function. So now this is a bit different because now I'm putting in 3 numbers in between the brackets, and the third number represents the number of points. So again I push enter, and now I've only got 17 elements. So if I type use again, now the number is 1 by 17 because it represents a 1 by 17 matrix of doubles. Okay, one last thing I want to just mention is, say I want to do let's do something simple, 0 to 10 in spaces of 11. Then I should just get linspace will generate a array of numbers between 0 and 10 with 100 points, and so it's nice. If I were to by mistake put in 11.8, I mean that's not a whole number. That actually doesn't make sense technically, because how can I space things between 11.8 points? There's no such thing. So what MATLAB does is it rounds off the 0.8. It always chops off the decimal, and it treats it as if I just generated 11. So if I did, let's do linspace 12.8, then it actually just generates 12 points, which is the same as me just saying linspace 0, 10, 12. So that's just some quirks about MATLAB and some more functionality related to MATLAB. We use linspace a lot, so it's important to understand them. And also generating negative ranges, you need to specify a negative increment.